all done it. This time of year, we get on the scales and we I've put on 5 pounds or whatever it is. I'm not telling you how much I've put on, and maybe I haven't put any on. Maybe I've lost some weight over Christmas. And I didn't eat any after 8 minutes. The point is this, is that we beat ourselves up and around the weight, and the bathroom scales are the go-to for a lot of people who will then use those numbers that they then see as a judgment call for what is happening for them and what's going on. Now, a lot of this is coming from society in terms of what's telling us what we should be, and the big one that is a big problem for us is BMI, body mass index. So body mass index is a very simple scale. It says, what's your weight around your height, and from that it says this is what your height is appropriate for your weight. So if you are 6'3" like I am, you're right, then you should be a certain weight. And of course, it's a number, and it's like any of the numbers that we look at within a health setting. They are relatively misleading by themselves. So weight is one of those things that isn't really an important number when it comes to health. Now, obviously, there are scales of that, but the principle is this: is that what we have a weight normative approach within our healthcare system, and the weight normative approach says that this is what your normal weight should be, and therefore, if you are above it or below it, then you should aim to reduce that. It's the same thing as far as blood pressure. But as with blood pressure, it's just a number. It doesn't mean anything by itself. And instead, there's a big move towards the concept and the idea of weight inclusive measurement, that we shouldn't be looking at shaming people or having a go at them because they're a few pounds overweight. Instead, what we should be looking at is how do we measure health and how do we measure healthy activity. And weight may be included in that, but it's not the be-all and end-all. And of course, there's a massive weighting, leaning, I see what I did there, a massive weighting towards the idea of this is what your weight should be. And of course, the bathroom scales are that measure that we go to. So can we be fat and healthy? I did a very good interview with somebody called Andrea, who is an ex-aerobics instructor, would be considered fat by all measures of the scale. So I must find that video and that interview and chat with her. I didn't put that out there. There are lots of scales. We can be healthy and we can be overweight, and other measures which will then include things like blood pressure. Are we smoking? What's our activity rate? Nobody is saying that or downplaying the risks of obesity in relation to lots of other factors in terms of increased risks of cancers and diabetes, but they are risks. But what we're looking at is we're saying that there are many other ways of going about this idea. The trouble with weight normative is that it compels people to lose weight without necessarily changing their lifestyle, and small changes in lifestyle are a key that will have knock-on effects all the way down through our life and into our children. And so, generally speaking, it doesn't work. People that lose significant amount of weight, the vast majority of them put them back on again, and people go on to these hugely restrictive diets. There's one that I've seen, which is I think it's called a university city diet in the UK. I'm not going to name it, but I've met people that are on it and they lose enormous amounts of weight, and off it comes, and they get down to shrink down to get into a wedding dress or to do the thing that they want to do. But generally speaking, it goes back on, if not all of it, then some of it. And what we're seeing is the cycles where people will lose a lot of weight and they'll put it back on, but then increase it. So it's a very stressful element as far as the body is concerned. So weight isn't a good measure of health. It's a very poor measure of health alone. And the idea of having a bit of fat around us that is there as storage, while it's just an energy storage, while we then do something different over a winter. We don't go outside and go down the beach or what have you. Similarly, the idea of healthy eating, it's a lot of myths and a lot of suppositions. The 5 a day was a was a program that was put out by the fruit and veg industry to make us eat more fruit and vegetables, and the evidence for 5 a day is being healthy is very poor. But of course, we understand that cooking for ourselves, cooking our own food is going to be better for us. But these are choices that not all of us have. There's a lot of money issues, there's a lot of education issues, there's a lot of socioeconomic factors involved, and sugar is very cheap. You go down to the supermarket, your 2 for ones are all on Coke and pizza. They're not on broccoli. And so the idea of weight inclusive will also include changes in education and changes in policy and the way we influence our children, and maybe shifts in society. So don't worry about the numbers on scale, go for a walk. And if you are looking down at those numbers, then you're probably measuring the wrong thing. There's lots of other things that you can measure, including things like your waist or chest or your hip to waist ratio. These are a lot more reliable. And they also tend to account for cultural differences. BMI is also a little bit culturally skewed. So there we go. Thanks for commenting on that for this week. It's one of those subjects that has come up. And look after yourself, eat healthy. What do you think? Do you worry about your weight? Put something in the comments section below. Tell me what's going on for you. What's the way that you approach it? And we can talk about lots of things. That's something I've tried in the past has been intermittent fasting. The sort of the 2 days where you eat very little, and I really like that. I find that really resets my sort of metabolism. I don't feel I feel quite sort of recharged the next day. But what about yourself? So put something in the comments. Please like, subscribe, share, everything you can do. If you click like on it, or if you've watched the end, it helps the demographics as far as YouTube. I'm just learning these things, so please help me out and hit that like button. And I'll see you next time.